If we gave you just 20 minutes to choose a UK Airbnb area that you still feel confident operating in 2026, where would you actually start? Because what we see a lot is people picking locations based on hype, cheap rent, or something they heard secondhand, and then being confused a few months later when they're stuck discounting just to get bookings through the door.
Yeah, and the frustrating part is that on the surface, it often looks like a good decision. The city sounds busy, Airbnb looks active, the numbers sort of work if you stretch them a bit, but when the unit goes live, the demand just isn't there in real life.
So in this video, we're not trying to teach you everything about area analysis. This isn't a deep dive. What we want to show you is the exact 20-minute filter we use to decide whether an area is a yes, a no, or even worth spending any time on at all.
And the reason this matters is because we didn't start with mentors, we made mistakes early on, learned fast, and one of the biggest lessons was that choosing an area based on vibes is one of the quickest ways to create stress for yourself in this business.
The goal here is simple. In one sitting, you should be able to decide whether an area deserves more attention or whether you should drop it and move on without getting emotionally attached.
The first thing we always start with is what we call the guest reason test. Before you even look at numbers, you need to be clear on why people actually want to come to that location in the first place.
And we don't mean because it's nice or because I'd like to stay there. Those answers are usually weak. What you're looking for are repeatable, boring reasons that actually exist whether an Airbnb is popular or not.
Things like large employers, hospitals, universities, infrastructure projects, recurring events, or family-driven travel. These create consistent demand across the year, not just on sunny weekends or peak seasons.
If you can't explain the main guest reason in one clear sentence, that's usually your first red flag. Nice places don't always make good short-term rental markets, but places with reasons do.
Once that makes sense, we move straight into Airbnb itself. Not spreadsheets, not software, just the platform. We search for the exact type of unit we'd realistically operate, whether that's a studio, 1 bed, or 2 bed.
Then, we pick around 5 comparable listings and we look at them properly. We're paying attention to how weekday pricing compares to weekends, how full the calendars actually look, and whether reviews are consistent and recent rather than just a high-end number.
This is a lot about the real demand. A listing with hundreds of reviews from 3 years ago, but nothing recent, doesn't mean much. Consistency matters more than hype.
We also look closely at the quality of competition. If everything looks identical, poorly presented, and heavily discounted, that usually means people are competing on price because there's no differentiation.
But if most listings look average and you know you'd run a cleaner, more professional setup, that's where the opportunity usually sits. You're not trying to win by being the cheapest, you're trying to win by being the obvious choice.
After that, we do a quick numbers sanity check, but we keep it conservative on purpose. We choose a realistic nightly rate based on the comps, not the highest one we saw on a busy weekend.
We assume sensible occupancy, not perfect months, and then we subtract the basics: rent, bills, Wi-Fi, cleaning, linen, consumables, and we always leave room for quieter periods.
The question we're asking here isn't, can this work if everything goes right? It's, does this still work when things are average? If the deal only survives in perfect conditions, it's not a strong deal.
Then comes the part that kills a lot of otherwise good ideas, which is feasibility. Even the best area in the country is useless if you can't operate legally or practically.
That means being aware of local restrictions, licensing, expectations, and especially building rules if you're dealing with flats, superior leases, and management. Company rules can block you completely.
If feasibility looks unclear or messy, we don't treat that as a maybe, we pause. Uncertainty here is expensive later, and we've seen that lesson play out more than once.
Once all that's done, we score the area. We look at demand strength, pricing power across the week, whether there's real competition gap, whether the numbers work conservatively, and whether the setup is actually feasible.
If it scores high, it goes on the shortlist and we go deeper. If it's average, we only proceed if we know we have a clear edge, and if it scores low, we drop it without overthinking.
That's how you keep momentum without creating chaos for yourself. Fast decisions, but grounded ones.
In the next video, we're breaking down the real startup cost of Airbnb in the UK, whether you're looking at rent-to-rent or management, deposits, furnishing, compliance, buffers, and the costs people usually ignore.
Because there's no point picking a solid area if you run out of money halfway through setup. Watch that next so you can move properly, not emotionally.